In this video, I'll be talking about 10 of the most improved bodybuilders of all time, in my opinion. Basically, these are competitors who had to overcome a lot of adversity where wins and titles were not simply handed to them. Although the levels of overall career achievements can vary, I believe that all the competitors on this list truly reinvented themselves when it came to their placings and overall physique. Also, this list is going to focus more on the modern era, so if I missed anyone, especially from the 60s, 70s, or 80s, please let me know down below, as I will probably have to make a part 2. Also, please don't take this list that seriously, as it really is just my opinion, and I do hope you enjoy it. Starting off, we have William Bonak, whose career shows what being consistent over time can get you. Bonak began in the 212 division but switched into the open division in 2013. At first, it looked like that move was going to backfire. When he qualified for his very first Olympia in 2014, he placed all the way down in 15th. Most people thought he was simply too short, too undersized, or even really not aesthetic enough to ever threaten the bigger names. But instead of fading away, Bonak chipped away year after year, steadily adding dense muscle and improving his condition. By 2016, he was cracking the top 5 at the Olympia and starting to build serious momentum. In 2018, he took things to another level by winning the Arnold Classic, and then the following year he reached the peak of his career by placing second at the Olympia behind Brandon Curry. Even when people counted him out after a rough showing at the 2022 Olympia, Bonak bounced back. In 2024 and 2025, he came back with very strong performances, winning pro shows like the Detroit Pro and consistently being in the top spots. More than a decade into his pro career, he still is one of the most consistent and dangerous competitors in any lineup, and that's the reason he's here. It may seem like an odd pick, as he's not really the most famous or well-known competitor of all time, but he definitely deserves respect. It is simply amazing to see someone so consistent, especially in a sport that takes a toll on the body year after year after year. Next up is Roly Winkler, a bodybuilder whose career was defined by raw potential and some of the craziest muscle development the sport has ever seen. Roly turned pro in 2009 and made a name for himself for having some of the most impressive arms in all of bodybuilding, but early on he struggled to put all the pieces together, especially when it came to condition. Throughout the early 2010s, he gradually packed on more overall mass while trying to bring up his condition, but the results at the Olympia level were pretty inconsistent at best. He placed as low as 14th in 2010, 12th in both 2012 and 2014, and often struggled to even crack into that top 10. Even as he racked up pro wins in Europe and built a reputation as a fan favorite, many felt that he hadn't reached his true ceiling when it came to the Mr. Olympia level. That all finally changed in 2018 when Roly brought a completely transformed look to the Olympia. His condition was very sharp, his midsection was extremely tight and controlled, and all that mass finally looked put together. That year he placed third in the world, a massive jump that proved he could stand toe-to-toe with the very best and arguably even win. All in all, although Roly Winkler might be one of the greatest what-ifs in all of bodybuilding history, his 2018 breakthrough showed us all how far dedication and raw talent can take someone, even if it nearly takes 10 years. Now we have Samir Banu, whose journey to becoming Mr. Olympia was anything but straightforward. Samir began competing internationally in the 1970s, but his early results were pretty underwhelming. In the Mr. Universe contests, he finished as low as 12th in 1976, and when he finally made it to the Olympia in 1980, he placed all the way down in 15th. Even as he improved, he still struggled to break through, finishing 9th in 1981. But Samir was very determined to keep refining his physique. Over the next couple of years, he focused on improving his back detail and overall condition, which, safe to say, paid off big time. In 1982, he jumped all the way up to 4th at the Olympia, showing he was finally starting to realize his potential. Then, in 1983, he brought everything together in what many consider to be one of the most aesthetic and balanced physiques ever displayed. That year, he won the Mr. Olympia title outright, achieving what once seemed impossible for a competitor who had spent years fighting for a top placing. After his win, Samir did kind of struggle to ever match that look again, finishing outside of the top 4 in 1984 and slipping down even further in the late 80s and early 90s. But even with all those setbacks, his transformation from a forgotten mid-pack pro to an Olympia champion is one of the most underrated stories of all time. That's exactly why he belongs here. Samir's career showed that persistence, patience, and belief in your own vision can turn years of disappointment into a moment that defines a lifetime. Also, if you guys are enjoying the video so far, a like and sub would really be awesome, as it helps out the channel tremendously. Next, we have Shawn Rhoden, whose career was a steady climb that peaked into one unforgettable showing. Shawn turned pro in 2010, but his early results were far from spectacular. He took the number 6 spot at the Dallas Europa Super Show that year, and then took 11th place at his first Mr. Olympia in 2011. For a long time, he was seen as a very solid competitor with great genetics, but not really someone likely to win the Mr. Olympia. Then, in 2012, he started gaining a bit of momentum by winning multiple pro shows and moving up to 3rd place at the Olympia, a massive jump that got everyone's attention. Over the next few years, he consistently hovered in that top 5 range, finishing 3rd or 4th in most major contests. But it was in 2016 that he came the closest to winning the title, taking 2nd place behind Phil Heath and proving that he was a legitimate threat. Even so, many people assumed that Phil would keep on beating him. I mean, it was Phil Heath, come on. That all changed, though, in 2018, when Shawn delivered the best physique of his life in many people's eyes. He brought razor-sharp condition, flawless shape, and a presentation that basically exposed all of Phil's weaknesses, especially the midsection. That night, he became Mr. Olympia, ending Phil Heath's very long reign, but also, sadly, 2018 would be his very last Olympia as well. But his progression from a mid-pack pro to dethroning a 7-time all-time great Mr. Olympia champion was one of the sport's biggest improvement stories as well as moments of all time. Moving on to Brandon Curry, who had built a career on perseverance and persistence. Early on, Brandon was known more for potential than results. After turning pro in 2008, he spent many years struggling to break into the top spots. In 2010, he placed 8th at the Europa Super Show, and then 6th at the Pro Bodybuilding Weekly Championship, and even when he first qualified for the Olympia in 2011, he placed 8th. For several years, he hovered around that lower end of the top 10, and many doubted whether or not he would ever be a serious contender. But everything changed for him when he decided to relocate to Kuwait to train at the Oxygen Gym. That move definitely paid off. He added significant size to his back and legs while keeping his signature shape. By 2017, he was winning pro shows consistently, and then in 2018, he cracked into the top 5 at the Olympia. His biggest breakthrough, obviously, was in 2019, when he absolutely dominated at the Arnold Classic, and then went on to win the Mr. Olympia, completing one of the most impressive career turnarounds in modern bodybuilding. He proved it wasn't a fluke by taking 2nd at the Olympia in both 2020 and 2021. Even after slipping down to 4th place in 2022 and 2023, and then 9th in 2024, he rebounded with a much better look at the 2025 Arnold Classic, reminding everyone that he's still here and is still very dangerous. Personally, that's why I think he deserves respect. Brandon shows that, with the right environment and relentless work ethic, a competitor can rise from overlooked potential to the very top of the sport. Here we have Dexter Jackson, whose career is one of the greatest examples of staying the course until you reach the top. Dexter started competing as an amateur in the early 90s and then turned pro in 1999 after years of grinding through the NPC ranks. Even once he made it to the Olympia, his placings were rather modest, 9th in 1999 and 2000, and rarely breaking into that top 5 range for the first several years. For a long time, he was respected but not really seen as a real threat to win the Mr. Olympia title. But Dexter kept improving steadily. He added more detail, brought up his legs, and refined his condition to a level that really kind of set a standard for the sport. By 2003, he climbed all the way up to 3rd at the Olympia, and over the next few years, he became known for always showing up sharp. His biggest achievement came in 2008, when he shocked everyone by winning the Mr. Olympia title, dethroning Cutler in the process. That was really just the beginning of his dominance, though. Dexter went on to become the most winning Arnold Classic champion of all time, as well as the most winning IFBB pro ever, collecting titles all over the world well into his 40s. Even years later, he stayed very competitive, placing in the Olympia top 5 as late as in 2019, before finally stepping away in 2020. That's why it's a no-brainer for him to be in this video. His career really shows us that making improvements year after year, no matter how big or small they are, can turn a good pro into a legend who gets to leave the sport on their own terms. Next is Kai Greene, whose story is all about locking in and eventually becoming one of the sport's most talked about competitors. Kai competed as an amateur for nearly a decade before even turning pro, winning shows like the Team Universe but struggling to get noticed by mainstream bodybuilding. When he finally entered the pro ranks, though, he did have a pretty rough start, placing 14th at the 2005 New York Pro and falling all the way to 20th at the 2006 Superman Pro. It wasn't until 2007 that things kind of began to click. That year, he improved his condition and placed first at the Shawn Rhoden Colorado Pro, marking the start of his rise. From there, he racked up major wins, including 3 Arnold Classic titles and multiple pro victories around the world. Between 2012 and 2014, Kai basically reached his peak, placing second at the Mr. Olympia 3 years in a row, right behind Phil. The combination of dense muscle, crazy roundness, and detailed condition made many argue that he had one of the best physiques ever from a pure bodybuilding standpoint. But it wasn't just the look that Kai had. Kai also stood out for his artistic posing, intensity, and larger-than-life persona, to put it bluntly, which turned him into one of the most polarizing, yet popular competitors of all time. Overall, Kai Greene showed that even after years of setbacks and being counted out, dedication and self-belief can turn a late bloomer into an icon the sport will never forget, and that's why he's in this video. Now we have Big Ramy, someone who demonstrates that even genetic gifts don't really guarantee an easy road to the top. Unlike many competitors on this list, Ramy didn't really spend years trying to turn pro. He earned his card in 2012 and then immediately made waves by winning the 2013 New York Pro, one of the most, prestigious shows of all time. Early on, people saw him as a future Mr. Olympia and one of the only bodybuilders who could possibly challenge Phil. But for years, Ramy struggled to deliver on that hype. His size was never in question, he was the biggest on any stage, but his condition and detail were always really not on point. He placed as low as 8th in his Olympia debut, and even after improving to 2nd place in 2017, he slipped out of that top 5 again in 2018. At that point, a lot of fans had started to really doubt whether or not he would ever put it all together. After nearly a decade of hype and frustration, Ramy finally made that leap in 2020. He came in with the best combination of fullness and sharp condition he'd ever shown and dominated the Olympia lineup to win his first Olympia title. He would go on to defend it in 2021, proving it wasn't a fluke, but then lose it in 2022 in a pretty controversial way, placing 5th. In my opinion, Big Ramy's story is a reminder that no matter how much potential, genetics, talent you have, it really takes patience and persistence to turn expectation into reality, and when he finally did it, it shocked the entire sport. Up next is Jay Cutler, who is one of the most driven and determined competitors of all time. Jay turned pro in 1996 after winning the MPC Nationals, but his early years on the big stage were a struggle. In 1998, he placed 11th at the Night of Champions and a lowly 14th at the very first Mr. Olympia of his career, although he might have been overlooked. Even as he moved up to 8th place the next year, very few believed that he would be the one to dethrone Ronnie Coleman. But Jay kept on pushing forward, steadily adding more and more mass, while also continually refining his shape. From 2001 to 2005, he finished 2nd at the Olympia 4 times in a row, always in Ronnie's shadow. For most competitors, that would have been discouraging, but for Jay, it was motivation. He came back every year bigger, better, and more determined. In 2006, all that persistence paid off. Jay brought a look that was fuller, sharper, and better than ever, and he finally defeated Ronnie to win his first Mr. Olympia. He defended the title very controversially in 2007, and then even after losing it to Dexter in 2008, he made history again by coming back to reclaim the Sandow in 2009, a feat no former Mr. Olympia had ever accomplished until then. He added a fourth title in 2010 before eventually stepping away in 2013 as one of the most respected champions of all time. So it should be pretty obvious why he's here. His career highlights the fact that sometimes the difference between almost and finally is simply just refusing to quit until the job is done, and the only way to make that leap is through improvements. Finally, we have Ronnie Coleman, who is the prime example of what relentless work ethic can accomplish. Unlike many champions who were instant stars, Ronnie started his pro career placing near the bottom, which is interesting considering he is the best bodybuilder ever. In 1992, he made his Olympia debut and finished 16th, literally last place. For years, he was considered just another big guy who couldn't quite crack into that top range. From 1992 through 1995, he bounced around the middle of the pack, rarely placing any higher than like 10th, and often getting overlooked completely. But Ronnie, in his traditional fashion, completely refused to give up. He kept grinding away, refining his condition, and gradually adding size until 1998, where he finally broke through. That year, he won the Night of Champions and came into the Mr. Olympia with a level of fullness, detail, and overall size that stunned everyone. He walked away with his first out of 8 Sandows, starting a reign of dominance that bodybuilding had never seen before. From 1998 to 2005, Ronnie would win 8 consecutive Mr. Olympia titles, combining outrageous mass with very sharp condition that set a new standard. Like I said in the beginning, Ronnie is a true prime case of work hard and you'll succeed. He went from finishing last place to becoming arguably the greatest to ever do it, and he did it by outworking everyone around him. Anyways guys, that about does it for this video. Let me know in the comments down below if I missed anyone, as I'm sure there are hundreds if not thousands of great improvement stories out there. With that being said, I hope you guys enjoyed it, and I'll see you on the next one. Thanks for watching.